This video from Iain Dale, a journalist at LBC, is misleading at best. He is right to say that Nicola Sturgeon is an effective political communicator, and sometimes that does make the SNP a wee bit bulletproof amongst their own supporters. But he's asked a question on healthcare, and he digresses and goes on to COVID-19, probably because he realises that Scotland is outperforming the rest of the UK when it comes to healthcare. The Scottish NHS is doing better the NHS elsewhere in the UK. There's a couple of barometers for this. The first one is that there's a higher number of GPs per head of population in Scotland. Scotland spends more on the NHS per head of population. England, perhaps unsurprisingly, is last under the Conservatives. And then it's Northern Ireland under the DUP and Sinn Féin. And then it's followed by Wales, where the Labour Party is in power. There's more nurses and midwives anywhere in the UK. Again, England is last, Northern Ireland third, Wales second. And A&E, which is the benchmark, I think, for healthcare, because most people who come into contact with healthcare services or rely on it in their time of need are going through A&E departments, okay? So 91% of patients are seen within 4 hours, and that compares with England on 82%, Wales on 77%, and Northern Ireland on 69%. Now, to me, that doesn't seem as though there's much of a crisis in Scotland. As I'm going to say on the education point, obviously governments can always do better, and it is important that we hold them to account, but doing that through misinformation isn't the way to do it. I mean, the statistics I've just gave you show that it's selective bias because it focuses on education and COVID-19 rather than education and healthcare generally, which he was asked about by the presenter, who is Adam Boulton. So let's go to education, since that was referred to. So he refers to the OECD report, but that was a report that was commissioned by the Scottish Government. So surely that evidences how seriously the Scottish Government takes education if they actually want the system to be independently appraised and they want the OECD to find holes in their policy, right? Surely that is something that we want all our governments to do. And has the UK government done that in terms of education? I'm not convinced that they have. But since Iain Dale focuses on Scotland losing 25 points in the OECD report, I'll focus on a couple other points because I've actually read the full report, right? So the first point that I want to quote to you is that a third, so that's 33%, of disadvantaged students identified as resilient in 2012, so that's those in the bottom quarter in status terms, the poorest, the most vulnerable ethnic minorities, who perform in the top quarter of international performance. So that's higher than the OECD average of 25%. Now, even if you just look at the executive summary, yes, there are areas for improvement because, funnily enough, it is titled Improving Schools in Scotland, an OECD report. So the point is not to find good stuff or positives or advantages, as it were. The point is to find where there might be shortcomings or failings for the Scottish Government to work on that. So the first point is that levels of academic achievement in science and reading are higher than international averages. In maths is similar in terms of an international average. Scottish schools, along with the usual high performers, Norway, Finland and Sweden, do well on measures of social inclusion. Over 90% of school leavers entered a positive destination. So in other words, they go on and do other things. They don't just join the unemployment line at the job centre, right? So 90% of school leavers go into a positive destination. And over 66% of school leavers continue in education. So they want to better themselves, they want to get on, they want to expand in their studies. Positive attitudes in terms of schooling, over 75% of Scottish students, 3 in every 4, said they get along well with teachers, that they take student concerns seriously, and that teachers are a source of support. Okay. There are points for improvement, like I said, and nobody's going to suggest that the government gets everything right, but it's surely the strength of our government to say, we think that we've put in place a great number of policies on education or in any area, but they get an independent body, in this case a highly respected OECD, to come in and critique it. Scotland is among the best performers in education, and that's why it's more likely that they would actually lose points than gain points. And people do this with statistics quite a bit, and it's misleading, right? So if you'll forgive me for this example, there is a point to it. that during the EU referendum, Vote Leave said that the EU had some of the lowest growth anywhere in the world. Well, aye, that is the case, but they're already a fairly well-developed economy, one of the strongest economies in the world, in fact. So if you're already at a high baseline, it's obviously difficult to grow. It's difficult to improve when you're already towards the top of the table. I mean, we're not seriously going to suggest that in that context, Rwanda is in some way more economically well off than the European Union, are we? But Rwanda is the third quickest growing economy in the world. So it's a similar sort of thing when it comes to education. We're starting at a high baseline. You're not going to compare Scotland's education with Somalia's education because Somalia is improving, right? That's just apples and oranges. And the disappointing thing for me is that Ian Dale knows better. And as a journalist, he should be putting out good information rather than selective information, or at least I hope it's selective because I would rather that someone was biased rather than incompetent. Because the alternative is that he just fails to grasp the big picture and he fails to grasp the full overview of statistics. So continue to question everything. The real concerning thing for me is I constantly say to my students, make sure everything is evidence based, that it's a full picture, that it's not selective. And Ian Dale, you're a national broadcaster, you're on Sky News, you're on LBC every day, you've fallen some way short on that.